The needle enters at an angle, not straight through. That would tear the leather. 45 degrees, just beneath the surface, pulling 6 strands of waxed linen thread through quarter-inch cowhide that has been soaked, stretched, and shaped around a core of cork and tightly wound wool. The workshop smells of beeswax and old leather. Dust hangs in the afternoon light, slipping through the window. The workbench is worn smooth in one particular place, polished over decades by resting hands. First his grandfather's, then his father's, now his. Each stitch takes 4 seconds, 80 stitches per ball. 6 rows, no template. No guide marks. Only the feel of tension in the thread, the angle of entry, and muscle memory built over 43 years. This is Penshurst. This is one of the last places in Britain where cricket balls are still stitched entirely by hand. And when this man retires, there will be fewer than 10 people left in the entire country who know how to do what he is doing right now. His name is Michael. He is 61 years old. He started here at 18, straight out of school. Not because it was a calling, not because of romance or tradition, but because his father worked here, and his grandfather before him. Back then there were 20 stitchers in this building alone. Now there are 3. The workshop is quieter than it used to be. The cutting room still operates. Leather panels are now die-stamped by machine, saving time and labor. But the stitching room, where Michael works, sounds exactly as it did in 1760. Thread through wax, needle through leather, pull, repeat. The rhythm has not changed. Cricket balls have been made this way since production began in Kent in the late 18th century. The construction is deceptively simple. A core, traditionally cork wrapped in tightly wound wool yarn, is shaped into a sphere that meets the laws of cricket. The finished ball must weigh between 5.5 and 5.75 ounces, with a circumference between 8.8125 and 9 inches. 2 shaped panels of leather, each cut to a precise pattern, are soaked in water until pliable. They are then stretched tightly over the core and held in place with temporary tacks. Then comes the stitching, 6 rows, 80 stitches. The first row establishes the seam, the raised ridge that runs around the ball's equator. This seam is not decorative, it is functional, essential. It allows the ball to swing in flight. It grips the pitch when it lands. It determines how the ball behaves in ways that matter deeply to the game. If the stitching is uneven, if the tension varies, if the spacing drifts, the ball will not play true. Bowlers notice. Matches have been lost because of poorly stitched balls. This is why the work requires more than technique. It requires feel. Michael rarely looks at what he's doing. His hands already know. The needle enters. The thread pulls. The tension holds. All of it happens in a sequence so practiced that conscious thought would only slow it down. You learn to feel when it's right, he says, without looking up. If the thread's too tight, the leather puckers. Too loose, and the seam sits flat. You're aiming for something you can't measure. He learned this from his father. Who learned it from his father? Who learned it as a boy? Back then, every county had stitchers. Lancashire, Yorkshire, Nottinghamshire. Cricket balls were a local industry. By the 1970s, that began to change. Cheaper production moved overseas, first to India, then to Pakistan. Labor was cheaper. Production was faster. Partial mechanization could replicate some of the stitching, though never all of it. British manufacturers tried to adapt. They outsourced core production but kept final stitching in-house. It worked for a while. But demand for hand-stitched balls was always limited, mostly professional cricket and purists who could feel the difference. And as costs rose, the pressure intensified. One by one, workshops closed. By 2010, only a handful remained. Today, Michael's workshop is one of just 3 in the UK still stitching cricket balls entirely by hand, from start to finish. The process takes about an hour per ball, if you're experienced. Much longer if you're not. Michael remembers his first week. "I ruined 12 balls," he says. "The thread kept snapping. I was pulling too hard. I didn't understand tension yet." His father said very little. He simply handed him another ball and watched. It took 6 months before Michael could stitch a ball that met the workshop's standards. 2 years before he could do it without thinking. 10 years before he could match the speed of the older stitchers. That's the problem with this kind of knowledge. You can't teach it in a week. You can't write it down in a manual. You can sit someone next to an experienced stitcher for months, and they will still struggle, because tension isn't a number. It's a feeling, and feelings take time. People often ask, why not automate? The answer is complicated. Machines can stitch leather. Factories in Pakistan produce cricket balls at a fraction of the cost, and for most purposes, school matches, club cricket, recreational play, those balls are perfectly adequate. But hand stitching produces something different. The seam sits higher. The leather conforms more tightly to the core. The ball ages differently. Even after hours of play, the seam remains pronounced, something swing bowlers rely on in professional matches. That's why test matches, first-class county games, and certain international fixtures still specify hand-stitched balls. Not because of tradition, because of performance. Purists feel it. Bowlers notice it in the very first over. Michael's workshop produces around 600 balls a year, roughly 2 per day per stitcher. Enough to survive. Barely. Leather costs have risen. Insurance costs have risen. The building itself, a converted 19th century warehouse with listed status, requires constant maintenance. And then there is the question of succession. Michael is 61. He may have 5 years left, maybe 10 if his hands hold out. But there are no apprentices. The workshop tried twice in the last decade. Both times the trainees left within a year. One went into IT, the other into logistics. Better pay, clearer career paths. Michael doesn't blame them. It's hard to ask someone to spend years learning something that might not exist in 20 years, he says, and it's hard to justify the wages when we can barely compete with imports. So the knowledge remains with him, and with the 2 others in the building, and perhaps 7 more scattered across the country. Fewer than 10 people, that's all. Sometimes, late in the afternoon, when the light slants through the window and the workshop is quiet, Michael runs his thumb along a finished seam. He wonders who will be doing this in 30 years. Or if anyone will. The balls he stitches today might be used in county matches. Perhaps even a test at Lord's Cricket Ground, if the order is large enough. They will last 50 overs. Then they will be replaced. But the skill that made them took a lifetime to develop. And it cannot be replaced in 50 overs. It cannot be learned from a book. It lives in hands. The cricket ball sitting on Michael's bench right now will be finished by the end of the day. 80 stitches, 6 rows, 1 hour. It will be wrapped in tissue paper, placed in a box with 5 others, and shipped to a cricket club in Yorkshire, where players will use it without ever thinking about the hands that made it. And that's fine. That's how it should be. Craft isn't meant to be noticed. It's meant to work. But there is a difference between craft that works and craft that survives. Right now, in workshops like this one, across trades like this one, survival is uncertain. Not because quality has declined, not because demand has vanished, but because training takes too long. Wages can't compete. And when someone retires, there is no one waiting to learn. Michael will keep stitching as long as his hands are. After that, the workshop will have a choice. They can train someone new, accept the years it will take before that person reaches full speed. Or they can do what so many others have done. Keep the brand, keep the design, but send the stitching offshore. It's not a moral failure, it's economics. But it does mean that one more place where this knowledge lived, where you could walk in and watch it being done, will disappear. 10 becomes 9. 9 becomes 8. Skill survives in hands, but hands do not last forever.